Colin Dunlap. I love that you're in your car. I love it.
But GT, by the way,
I love it. It's fabulous.
it's fast.
So, do you have a shout out? You
I
said.
have a shout out because we've been dealing with this for I don't know 48, 72 hours of the heat and then the storms and all that. And I don't want to sound like Glenn Campbell or anything, but I think we have to shout out the linemen because it's like totally a thankless job. And I know you were without power for a little bit. I was without power for a couple of days. Um, they don't like set out to make people mad, and they don't set out to not have your power on. The job those people do is incredible to me, that they get it back up even if it takes a day or two. I don't think they get enough credit for the dangerous job they do and how fast they actually get so many people back online.
So, before I respond to that, when you said that, what do you think the very first thing I thought was?
I don't know.
Who's our lineman? I was going to the Steelers.
Oh,
Your
you were.
shout out
Okay.
was to the
Okay.
lineman.
All
And
right.
so I went right to the Steelers. Let me think. Who's our center? Who's our tackle? Who's our guard? That's right where I went. But not to minimize exactly what you just said, you're right. I think it takes tremendous courage and commitment to do what they do. I could never do it. And as evidence, and God bless, and rest his soul, the gentleman that went through North Park and rode right over a live wire that was clearly marked, I hear, but he ignored that. But that shows you the danger and the reality. I mean, we take it for granted, and we take the linemen for granted, but they deal with that danger every single day. So I join you in your shout out.
Yeah, and it's my understanding they pulled people in from West Virginia and Ohio and surrounding areas to make sure to help. And like this
Yeah.
was, people didn't know this storm was coming.
No, it really took everybody by surprise. And it did take us some time. You said your power was out how long?
About right at 36 hours.
That's just crazy. And you realize, and you go, well, what happened before people had electricity? How did they live? Because we're so dependent on it. But yeah, no, great shout out.
Yeah, so that's that. All right, what do we got going on? We got Steelers. We got, I know we talk Steelers a lot, and I know that everybody wants the baseball team to spend more money, and rightly so. But do you realize Paul Skeens, his ceiling is the greatest Pirate pitcher of all time? You know that, right?
I do.
And if he continues on this track, and it's very early, like he's got a real shot to be one of the best pitchers of all time.
What's the chances we keep him?
I think it's going to be the same song and dance it was with Garrett Cole, that they ride him out through this first contract. It gets to that last arbitration year, and they don't pony up and pay the money they need to, and then he goes to the highest bidder. I mean, it's partly the Pirates' fault, but it's also the business of baseball where there's such a divide between like the top 8 or 10 teams and then everybody else.
Well, and you can apply that same principle to football, which I'll come back to. But yeah, how long is is Skeen's first contract?
They'll have him for the first 6 years.
There's no chance he stays 6 years. Not a chance in this world. Because one of the greatest problems that I see is injury. When you throw the ball that fast and that hard, and you worry about the longevity of that player. I think I do anyway. And I think that in this business of Major League Baseball and this business of NFL, you really have to factor that in. And these young guys see the big money,
Right.
right? And why would Skeens want to stay 6 years making mediocre money? And really, it's mediocre. Um, he's not killing it. For a guy going from zero to hero, he's killing it. But he's not killing it based on what he could command in the market.
Well, the Pirates have his rights for those first 5. And
I
the
know.
thing is, he could sign a long-term deal, or they could trade him. They could do anything they want. The thing about it, and your point is very well taken, and it's the same, I think, especially, like, there's no bigger example than the running back in the NFL.
Oh,
which
100%. Now I was going to go there. I was actually going to go
yeah,
there.
which means teams should, and it gets to looking at humans as commodities, but that's like the business. Teams
That's the
should get
business.
teams should get all they can out of these guys when they're young, and anything else beyond 4 years or so is a bonus. That's the way I look at it.
I would probably want to change that model if it were me. If you could, and I know it's the business and it's everybody does it, but I would probably try to change that model. But if you go back to Skeens, the Pirates, and this may not be a bad business move either. Do they invest in one guy or do they trade him and get four great guys and build the team around something?
Well, first move I would make if I'm the owner, and I'm not, I would offer him a 15-year contract right now, a 12-year
Exactly.
contract right now,
Yeah.
and give him the farm. I mean, give him, like, the Braves have done that with some young players, and other teams have done that. Offer him 12 years right now, and
Yeah.
hope that he jumps at it. If he
Yeah.
doesn't, I ride him out for 4 years and then try to trade him for a haul.
4 years is a long time, though. I
Yeah.
don't see him wanting to play on a losing team for 4 years. I don't see it. So I don't know. I think it'll be they're going to have that conversation, and they're going to have to really be able on the same team, same page. But I see your point, and I get it. I just don't see him here for the next 4 years ever.
Well,
I don't.
you said something that interests me. You said you'd like to change that atmosphere, right? Or you'd like to change that
I'd like
model.
to change that model. And speaking specifically of the NFL.
Well, can I ask you a question? And then I think an elongated answer is in order. If you want to change that model, but the other owners and general managers aren't into doing that, how could you do it independently? Doesn't it take everybody to want that same model?
I'm not sure. I would probably want to keep investing in the people that I have. Like I'd give the five unsigned guys that we have right now at the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'd give them all their contracts. I'd give it to them now. I'd lock them in. I think that's how you build the consistent winners. It's very difficult when you have blocks that you try to fit. You're going to lose two and add two, and some of the teams have done that pretty successfully. But I think the greatest times of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Where and Omar's his interview, I heard his interview, and he said, we don't negotiate after the season starts, and he likes that model a lot, and I do too. But I would secure the people. But if you don't secure them, to me that tells you you have some doubts, right? And so
Right.
in the case of Najee, I don't think Najee deserves a long-term contract. He hasn't been a long-term performer. He's been spotty at best. And so I don't think he should have that contract. Cam Hayward, what a guy. I mean, I take my hat off to Cam. I love Cam. Love it, love it, love it. But if I apply the business model approach to that, I wonder at the propensity for him to be injured at his age. And so I wonder, do I go ahead and do I pay him the 16 million? Do I give him a different contract? Do I cut him and keep him longer? I don't know. And so I don't know about those people, but the other people that you should be solid with, I'd give them their contracts. And if you're not solid with them, then why have them?
Well, to Najee, what we're seeing is Najee's just an NFL running back.
100%.
Like and you hate to again use this with a human, but he's expendable. And
I'd rather have Ezekiel than Najee right now.
I'd rather
in
just take my
today's world.
chances with a third or fourth round pick again and just keep doing that. Like, I don't think you need a great running back to win. So I think they made the right move by not picking up that year with him. And that's that.
Yeah.
Cam Hayward is a really interesting case. And let me run this past you and make this a bigger case. He's obviously dwindled physically, but do you wonder what that Walter Payton Man of the Year situation did with him? Because you're also someone that talks about character in the locker room, continuity. You just talked about continuity and about having the right people in there. So you really have to weigh that because there's no bigger example than the right guy than Cam Hayward.
Except when you apply, for example, how many games did he miss last year?
No, you're right. His skills are dwindling. There's no question, and his health is going.
I
And
don't
it's
know about
not.
his skills, but I mean, he's older by NFL standards. So he's older, and he does have a higher propensity to be injured. So, and I'm not saying don't keep him. I'm saying that's that's a conversation for contract versus time and money, right? So, how long do we want to keep him, and for what amount of money? And if he's willing to take a cut, which I think he would be, um, I do. I think he would be to take a cut to get a longer contract, and that's what I would do. I'd want Cam there. I want him there. I just don't know that I'd pay him crazy money.
I wonder if he's a guy who's already made enough money for in his life, and he, from a pride standpoint, would retire before he would take a pay cut.
I think he wants to be part of it. I really because he does have that character. He is that guy. Um, and I think it would be really cool to see him take less for longer. That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah. Oh, in a perfect world, I think that would be wonderful for both sides. And
Yeah, I think it
in
would.
in actuality, I bet we banter back and forth and go back and forth, and the team does the same thing. And then an 11th hour deal, like you just said, actually happens.
I hope so. I hope it does. But I'll be honest with you. I was a Najee Harris fan in college.
Uh huh.
I don't know what the hell happened when he got to the NFL, but I haven't seen it. I've seen spurts. I've seen a great play where he's puts his head down, throws people. He's got the strength. He's got the ability. He's got all of that. And I don't know, is it just a function of an offensive coordinator? Is it a function? What's it a function of? I don't know.
It's a
But
function of the NFL. He just became an NFL running back. That he's he's good, maybe even very good, but there's so few great NFL running backs that this is just what it is. Like,
is Jalen Harris a great running back?
no,
See, I don't think he is either. I don't think he is either. I think he's
Jalen Warren.
yeah,
No, 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 no,
Yeah. I'm sorry.
but I don't
Yeah.
think there's a. Here's the deal, though. There's great. Okay, that's way up here. Then Najee
Who's
Harris is
great?
here.
Who's a great running back?
I don't know how many there are in the NFL right now.
I'll give you one. He plays for Green Bay.
Hmm.
Oh,
Again, I
come
don't
on.
know how many there are in the NFL,
Oh, come
but
on. You
I'll
don't think
say
he's
this:
great?
he's he's good, very good.
Oh,
But
come on.
let me say this: we have seen in the past 15 games or so, though, the disparity between Jalen Warren and Najee Harris is absolutely not as big as we once thought. There's no question. Like, we thought at one point it was a very wide gap. It's not.
Where did that gap exist? Who was on top of that gap?
By default, Najee Harris was, because of where he was drafted, his pedigree, all that kind of stuff.
But not by
The
his
more
performance.
Not by his performance, but because
No,
of his
no.
contract and everything. When
Yeah.
Jalen Warren got more work, his production didn't drop off. And people
No,
thought,
didn't.
sometimes that happens in baseball. If like a guy's a better pinch hitter and then he plays every day and he can't handle the workload. Like, that happens. A lot of people thought the more Jalen Warren played, he wouldn't keep up at that rate. And he simply has. So that's why it's just not a function of a good football team to pay Najee Harris that money.
Well, I don't think it is either. But I also think our quarterbacks are going to make the whole team better. I think they're gonna be able to utilize Najee the way he should be, out of the backfield, short passes, the mobile quarterback. I think you're going to see an offense geared towards all of their talents. It's going to explode. I really believe it's going to explode.
I can tell you this: if I'll know how good Russell Wilson is going to be after 3 games.
My money's on Russell.
Yeah, I know you're real high on him this year.
I am not high on him. I am enamored with him. I love his character. I love his ability. I love his work ethic. He's working. He's involved. He's and But what I really love about him is the complemented by Fields. I love the two of them together. The two of them, different packages with them, using them both. I love what they both bring to the table. I really do.
I'll say this about an athlete, and you've seen a million in this town and all the sports, whatever. There has not been anybody that I can remember who never played a game and has been a PR darling like
And,
Russell Wilson.
and generated the interest that he has. Yes, I agree.
Whoever advises him from a public relations standpoint, or maybe he just does it himself, but he probably has advisors. He has struck every single right note that people have Russell Wilson mania before he's even taken a preseason snap. It's incredible.
I know. I love it. I love it. I've seen it. I watched him do an interview with his wife Sierra on the Jimmy Kimmel show, and man, they're cute together. It's really cool to see it, and I love that. And I think that's part of it. He's an NFL darling. He's a Pittsburgh Steeler darling, and I love it. Plus, he drives my Navigator, so
yeah,
that's pretty cool.
That Navigator's pretty. It's pretty something.
Yeah, well, so is he.
Do you look better in the Navigator, or does he look better in the Navigator?
Oh, all day long, him, not me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the reason we tint the windows.
I got in a Navigator not long ago. It's way bigger than I anticipated inside. It's like driving a living room.
Yeah, it's huge.
Gigantic.
It's huge. You feel very safe in it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
yeah.
It's just, like I said, it's like driving your living room around.
I know. It's really cool. I love it. So, but anyway, so I think Russell, Justin, I think that's the key. I'm not sure about their offensive coordinator because I don't know him. And so I don't know enough about him to have an opinion.
Right.
But I do know Mike Tomlin, and I trust that Mike Tomlin would not take a chance on a second failure in an offensive coordinator. And yes, he was a failure.
Oh, total failure. I agree with you. Like Arthur Smith, I'm on the fence a little bit, but I think that Mike Tomlin, like it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's not some podunk high school. They had their chance to get whatever offensive coordinator they wanted who was available, and he obviously vetted a bunch and then came up with Arthur Smith. So they got the best of the bunch. It's a matter of him producing here.
Yeah, I agree. But he's got the personnel to do it.
One would think. You know who I think has a really swing year, and we're going to find out everything we need to know about this guy. Pat Fryermuth's got a real chance to either excel in a big way in his career, go like that, or just be another guy. And the tight end position is going to be gigantic to this offense.
So I agree with both of those statements. My concern is, and again, I don't know if it's the way he was used in this offense.
He's been blah to this point.
Yeah.
He
really had. But he had, when Ben was with him, when Ben played with him, he was sure-handed. He didn't drop a ball, and that was their guy. That was their end zone guy. It fell after that. It didn't happen.
I know. That's the kind of guy that can really make this offense just explode, I think.
Yeah. We need a Travis Kelce.
Well, yeah, everybody does. He's one of the greatest of all time.
But we need that. We need that sure-handed. We need that guy that is your go-to guy. You put that ball in his hands, it's glue. It's not coming out. You need that guy in the end zone. You need that guy. And it does, even if it's not a Travis Kelce, it's somebody like that who's a great tight end. I mean, the great tight end would have been Pat Fryermuth to stay as he was at Penn State, right? Because that's
absolutely
what he was.
Well, I think he could get back to that in the offense. I honestly do. And again, he's another guy we're going to find out after 3 games, like 3 or 4 games. We'll kind of know what kind of season he's going to have, I think.
Here's my question to you. Well, first of all, Omar did make a statement that his bigger concern for all of it, not contracts, nothing, is the quarterback position.
Right.
So he said that, and I'm not sure what it meant. But okay. Who do you start? Who's your quarterback? You start Russell?
Russell
Yeah.
Wilson, but I have a very impatient leash on and
Why?
hook on what to do.
Why do you have an impatient hook?
Because I think Justin Fields is really good.
Okay.
I think Justin
I think he
Fields
is too. I think he is too.
from a size and speed standpoint. I
Yeah.
think and this is George Pickens included.
Well, that's my question. My real question comes back to that, but go ahead.
Justin Fields is not far behind from being the best athlete in that building.
Oh, wow. No, I didn't know that. That's a pretty strong statement.
Oh, if you walk up next to that guy, you think he's a linebacker. Like he's as big as Bud Dupree.
Is he really?
He's gigantic. Yeah, he's gigantic. Wow. And
I didn't know that. I did not know that.
I have a hard time if anything isn't hitting on precisely all cylinders, looking at that guy standing there on the sidelines. Or, at the very least, not trying to sign him long-term before he even plays.
Okay. I agree with that. Now let me come back to my real question.
Sure.
George Pickens.
Yes.
What do you think their plan with George Pickens is? Is he their guy? Isn't he their guy?
It's not for them to decide. It's for George Pickens to decide. Some people have told me that George Pickens is just an awful teammate.
Really?
Yes. And George Pickens, I think, has multiple personalities. Some days he wants to be there and it's great and feels as if this is wonderful and then other days he just goes through the motions. So it's really not the Steelers' decision, and it never will be the Steelers' decision. It's George Pickens' decision whether he wants to be a Steeler, whether he wants to be great, and whether he wants to apply himself every day.
But that means they'd have to wait. I think that they need to make that decision now. They have enough information to make that decision.
Well, what you know about guys like that is they normally don't change all that much. Like,
is he a diva? Is he a diva?
Oh,
is that what you're
hell
saying?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so
but most great receivers are.
Okay. So do we go after? Do you think we're going after the guy from San Francisco? Is that dead?
Yes, I think they are.
And if we get him,
then George Pickens is going to throw a fit.
Right, I agree.
I mean, if George Pickens here's the real shame of it. Like, the one guy until he lost his mind that you never had to question his work ethic was Antonio Brown, which it just defies logic that his career went and then just fell off a cliff because he was the one guy that applied himself all the time. But if you look at George Pickens, it's like totally up to him what he wants to be. It's not up to anybody else.
I still have such a soft spot for Antonio Brown. I don't know why. I feel bad for him. I really do. I just feel terrible for him. And I see all the craziness. I get it. I just feel so bad for him. It's like I'd like to, take him under my wing and just work with him every day. That's how I feel about Antonio Brown. I feel bad.
I think he's 100% saddled with CTE.
I don't know. But I'd find out, and I'd take him under my wing and would figure it out. And
yeah,
look. I saw the Antonio Brown that made him successful. I saw that guy. I saw he had compassion. I saw he had a heart. I saw all of that. And then to now see this Antonio Brown, there's something in the middle of that. Something happened. And whether it's CTE, whatever it is, it happened.
Yeah.
So I really do. I have a soft spot for him. But, and before we end this, I'll tell you that speaking of CTE, I have it's not a woodpecker. I don't remember what it's called, but it's like a woodpecker at my house.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And he sounds like a rapid fire machine gun killing my house, my stucco on my home, killing it. And his brain must be going back and forth. And somebody told me that they have a gel that protects their brain that they're trying to duplicate to prevent CTE in NFL players.
Are you serious?
I am serious. It was the president of the Ohio uh, Aviary Association or something. He was a
Yeah.
customer, and he told me that because I said, "How can they do that?" Because they go so fast, their head just goes. Blah, 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 blah.
Right.
So that's my outro.
There you go. Well, that's a good dismount. Have a good week.
It's a better word.
See.